Welcome to the BornReady Unstoppable Podcast. I am your host, bodybuilder, entrepreneur, and motivator, Dylan Cody, and I am here with my good friend, owner of Orca Promo, Chad Park. Chad, what's going on today, brother? How you doing?
Dylan Cody, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's been a while since we've worked together, about 7 years. And
Has it been that long?
It's been that long, man.
Holy
Yes.
smokes.
Right? I mean, maybe I jumped it. Maybe it was about 5, but yeah, about
That's
5
probably
years,
been-
about 5 to 7 years. A lot has happened in that time. So, catch me up a little bit about, what's going on in your life. I know you got Orca Promo. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, currently right now, just trying to grow a brand, grow a business, support my family. I got a baby girl at home. She's just turned 2 in October. We got a little boy on the way.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that, man.
That's huge.
It's the best thing in life.
That's awesome.
The absolute best thing in life. And it's honestly the biggest driver in life, too. It's incredible. But yeah, pretty much just trying to, focus on that work-life balance while growing a brand. It's definitely not easy. I'm still learning a lot. I'm in year 4 of business ownership right now, so it's
because we started about the same time, right? Now, about 4 years in business for you, about the same as me, but a lot happened before that. So let's get into where we met, right?
Yeah.
So I'm at the Salem Workout Club, and I had just gotten a position in management. And it was my job to build a sales team to really boost the numbers and get things going. And I met you. You cold called in to sell copiers. And I love that. Me being the sales guy that I am, when I heard you and your pitch, I was like, yeah, man, come down. But I don't think we're going to talk about copiers.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that, man, your experience coming to the workout club, working with me, where you were at that point in your life.
Yeah, so what's hilarious, too, is I don't think you remember the fact that on the sign of the Salem Workout Club, it said, hiring sales directors or something like that. And I was literally out driving around in my car doing door-to-door sales, selling copiers and printers, which, isn't nothing I'm crazy about.
Sure.
It was just, to make ends meet, to make some money, try something new, whatever. I learned a lot doing that. But I saw that sign, and I was like, I'm going to call him. I'm going to try to sell him some copiers and, maybe see what that's all about. Because I was
this into an opportunity.
Yeah, I was kind of miserable at the job that I was working at, and I was always open to new things. And I was like, fitness, I'm into fitness. Let me see what they're looking for and what they're offering and whatnot. So yeah, I called, and then somebody I didn't get you right away, but then somebody put you on the phone. We had a great conversation. You were like, yeah, can you come in today? I was like, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
and that was huge for me. As a sales leader, your ability to just drop what you were doing and take advantage of that opportunity. I'm like, hey, he's a go-getter. Let's see what this guy's all about. So yeah, dude, you literally came in that day.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'll be there. What time works best for you?
Yeah.
We came in, we had a great conversation.
6 or 7 jobs in a matter of 7 years or so. All my friends would make fun of me. They're locked into some full-time jobs, and they'd just be like, dude, you change jobs more than I change my underwear. And I'm like, listen, if I'm not happy doing something, I'm going to move on. Not only for myself, but also for that business owner too. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste my time.
Wow.
If I don't see myself doing this the rest of my life and enjoying this, what's the point? I'm not going to waste anybody's time. So I was doing construction at the time, and the owner, one of the owners of the company selling copiers and printers was a family friend.
Okay.
So I reached out to him just on a whim, and it was just like, hey, any chance, you need some sales reps or whatever? I'm looking to get into a new sales role, try something new. He's like, yeah, come on in, we'll talk. Long story short, ended up getting that job, and I was there for 6 months. I wasn't too fond of the co-owner of the company. Him and I kind of butt heads. So that kind of deterred me a little bit too. But also, it was copiers and printers. I was like,
right.
I don't care about this.
It's not getting you out of bed.
Yeah.
It's not getting you out of bed.
No, not at all. And I had to drive to Portsmouth too, to boot. So it was a 40-minute drive in the morning, 40-minute drive home. And yeah, I was just like, I'm not passionate about copiers and printers or paper or anything. I still did well because I'm a competitor.
Right. And that's important.
Yeah.
I always say how you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. And ever since I've known you, you've been a top performer. You mentioned if you're not happy, you'll leave, not just for you, but for the owner.
Yeah.
So that's almost even foreshadowing, now you're an owner, you understand that. You understand that mindset. But construction to sales. Mm-hmm. I mean, construction's a paycheck. Mm-hmm. Construction's, trading your time for money. Mm-hmm. Sales is commission-based. So you're knocking doors. You're making phone calls. Yeah. What was that transition like?
Well, there were many different transitions because I had quite a few different sales jobs. And, I'm very, very fortunate that my dad owns his own construction company, right? So, and he's insanely supportive of me and everything that I've ever wanted to do or have done. So I think I'm like very lucky in that sense, and not everybody has that blessing. But I mean, so I did door-to-door sales, selling exterior home remodeling stuff. I did solar sales. I did, the copiers and printers and stuff like that. But to answer your question, like the transition from that to sales, it's a completely different mindset. Because like when you're doing construction, like my dad taught me very well, so I could just show up and just know what I'm doing and just kind of bang stuff out and listen to some good tunes and
Autopilot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But then sales comes and there's so much more to it. There's so much more involved with that. It's like even like your voice inflections, especially on a phone. Selling on a phone is very difficult.
Absolutely.
Never mind, like I prefer door to door because you can see my personality, you can see me face to face, and people are less likely to tell you to fuck off if they're right in front of you.
Sure.
On the phone, it's like no problem. They can't see you or know that you have a family or whatever.
Oh yeah, people are confident on the phone, man. They'll tell you where to go and how to get there, but in person, it's a totally different story.
100%. But yeah, I mean, it was more of a mental game going into the sales aspect of things. But every single job that I had in sales, ultimately, like I learned something different from every single one, which ultimately led to me being like comfortable.
Yeah.
Not necessarily comfortable, but more confident in going on my own.
Well, confidence a muscle, right? You got to train it.
Right.
So you going out in a sales environment, getting kicked in the teeth every day, getting phones hung up, doors slammed in your face. That builds character. But you come home at night and you say to yourself, man, I got to get some of these people to buy. I got to get some of these people to talk to me.
Yeah.
So now you're developing relationship building, networking,
Yep.
being able to sit with someone, assessing their needs and providing them value.
Right.
Which is critical to owning your own business. But let's take it back for a second to the workout club, because you talked about, influxes in voice, right? You know, talking a certain way and stuff like that. We were very fortunate at the workout club because of the environment we had, the culture we had. We had guys that showed up, fist bumping, listening to music. We listened to Frank Sinatra on Fridays.
Frankie Fridays.
We'd have energy drinks. We'd have Rap City.
Yep.
And we'd have Frank Sinatra on, and we would be selling memberships and having a blast. How important is loving what you do and having that environment to success?
So that's actually one of the things I learned most about working at the workout club is like, fitness is something that I'm passionate about, and like realizing that when you actually care about something, it's like, it's not even selling. You're literally just talking to somebody to try to help them.
Correct.
Right. And that's how I look at my business now. It's like, I'm not here to sell you the cheapest t-shirt and be the best price or whatever. It's like, what do you need? How can I get you there? And to help your brand, you know what I mean? So
yeah, which is a huge differentiator for you, because we've done work together with BornReady, and I've worked with other people who are in your space. One of the things that blew my mind about you was I sat down with you, I said, Shad, I want to do some promo t-shirts. And in my mind, I thought, Gildan t-shirt, something inexpensive. You changed my whole perspective on that. Talk to me about that. You push quality, because your ideology is people need to wear it for your brand to be seen. Talk to me about that.
100%. And the biggest question that I get, they're like, people come to me, Chad, what's your cheapest t-shirt? What's your cheapest sweatshirt? My first question is why? Like, why do you want the cheapest? Every single time they're like, oh, it's just a giveaway. I'm like, how many Gildan t-shirts have you gotten given to you with someone else's logo on it and just put it in your drawer? And how many times do you wear that? They're like, well, never. I'm like, so why the hell would somebody wear your brand on a cheap feeling t-shirt?
Right. I'll tell you when you wear it, when you paint the house, right?
Exactly.
How many
you're
of those
mowing
shirts?
the lawn, you're painting the house.
Yep.
You're like, maybe your wife wears it as a night shirt or whatever, but like, that's not marketing.
No.
If you spend a couple extra dollars on a good quality product, it's like, okay, well, I only have, this much money to spend. Cool. Get less items, spend a little bit more. You hand those out, and now people are wearing that around town. People are seeing your brand. You're getting the brand recognition that you need, and that's called marketing. If it's sitting in someone's drawer, you may as well just throw your money away because you're not marketing with that.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that I try to tell people. And a lot of people are, for some reason, they're like, wow, like I've never been told that by a print company before or whatever. A lot of these print companies around here, I don't know why, are only slinging like Gildan and Hanes t-shirts. And I'm like,
cost versus value.
Right.
Orca Promo's a brand. You have a mission. You're trying to elevate your customer experience. You're trying to generate more business for the businesses you work with.
Correct.
So it's your responsibility to tell them, hey, listen, man, no one's wearing that shirt out to dinner, but I'll tell you what, look at that Nike hoodie you have on right now.
That's right.
You could wear that out to dinner. You could wear that, to the gym. You could wear that on a golf course. It's versatile. But now Orca Promo's out there. And more importantly, it's next to Nike.
Right. And that's one of the biggest things too, is like that the amount of compliments I get on this sweatshirt, first of all, people are like, oh, dude, that's a sick hoodie. Why? Because there's brand recognition right here. you put that right next to like one of the biggest companies in the world, automatically people's minds are like, quality.
Yeah, it elevates your brand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, what's Orca? Because they know Nike.
Exactly.
So they get that brand recognition right away, and then they're going to be more apt to look up, Google, Instagram, what's Orca?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. So I guess let's go back a second here. So leaving the workout club, right? So you leave the workout club and you took a great opportunity to basically stay in sales, but to basically have opportunity at a little bit more upside. It was a newer company. It was something different. Talk to me about leaving the workout club and going into that role.
Man, I'll tell you, I didn't want to leave the workout club.
It was tough.
It was sick. Like, it was a sick job, but the good months selling gym memberships were like January, February, and then it kind of like falls off a little bit, and then you have your everyday gym goers from there, right? And like, so it was a little bit more limited as to what I could make financially. So,
and you're limited to your demographic, your area. That's
Correct.
one of the hardest things about the gym business that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Is the scalability is difficult because you got about a 30-mile radius,
right?
Of who you can sell to.
Yeah.
So
unless you're selling online training, but
exactly,
we weren't doing that. But,
exactly.
But I got presented with a great opportunity. Again, one of my dad's family friends, they took on this franchise called Sealmaster. And they wanted to hire me to be their sales director and or first employee to kind of run things. And I said, sure. I mean, it was a great opportunity. Couldn't pass it up. They were offering me more money than I was making at the workout club. And I was like, yeah, this sounds good. Did that for a couple years. It was good. I learned a lot from that company because I was pretty much running everything. It was pretty much me running my own business with them kind of looking over my shoulder.
Which is huge.
And being like, okay, do this, don't do this kind of thing. That's how I learned how to do QuickBooks. Like, I had to learn ins and outs of QuickBooks to, invoice clients and to check people out and the whole nine. So that was kind of the last, straw for me to be like, I can start my own business.
Yeah.
It was like from there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, once you can run someone else's, you could definitely run your own.
100%.
So gaining that experience and not having the risk at that point. Because basically you're waking up every day, you're in charge of revenue, you're in charge of sales, you're in charge of operations, just like as if it was your own company. So now your day-to-day looks exactly like that.
Yeah.
Only difference is it's yours.
Right. And then, ultimately the reason that I left that is because I was, quite frankly, sick and tired of being told what to do, when to do it, and hey, go here on Saturday, but I'm like, where's the money that I'm getting for my time? Like, it's not adding up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm investing 60 hours a week into this, and am I being compensated for that properly?
Right.
No.
But there's a recurring theme here with your story is your ability to just stop doing what you're doing the minute you know it's not for you.
Correct.
And that's huge. Our time is limited. You can't waste your time in something where you're like, hey, man, this isn't the day-to-day life I want, or this isn't the money, that I want to be making. So I always encourage people, the minute you feel that way, start thinking about pivoting. Start moving out.
100%. And like, one of the crazy things is like, people, everybody has an excuse for why they can't try this, or why they can't start a business, or why they can't, start a podcast, whatever it is. And it's all bullshit. It's like, work your full-time job. I understand you have a family, but okay, what time do your kids wake up? 6 o'clock? Okay, wake up at 4:30, bang out stuff for an hour and a half. That's an hour and a half right there. What time do your kids go to bed? 8 o'clock? Cool. From 8 o'clock till 10 p.m., that's another 2 hours.
Yep.
That's 3.5 hours in a day that you could be getting a lot accomplished.
Absolutely.
If you really want something and you want to go for it, it's like, just put in the extra effort to make it happen. Like, most people just go through the motions. Like, this morning on my Instagram story, I posted, like, there's a lot of people out there who are miserable in their job, and we have a 2-day weekend coming up right now. Take advantage of that 2-day weekend.
Huge.
What are you going to do with your time?
Yep.
Are you just going to go sit at the bar or go to a party or whatever? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And what you're saying right now is using your time more efficiently, time management. And one of the first things I said to you when we got in here this morning was, I was like, man, I woke up this morning, I do what I normally do. I take a look at Instagram, and it says 4 hours ago you were hiking in the woods with a flashlight on your head. And I'm sitting there like, 4 hours, I'm doing the math in my head. But you're absolutely correct. You have a kid now, you have a wife, you have a business, you had an obligation today, but you were unwilling to not get your workout in and to not be the person that you are every day.
Yeah.
How important is not giving up on that? How important is keeping your schedule, especially now that you have a family and a kid and another kid on the way?
It's by far the most important aspect of everything. And to be quite honest with you, is like, I just recently started getting up at 4:30 again because, that grind and grit is exactly what led me to be able to start Orca Promo and go off on my own with Orca Promo, waking up at 4:30 and grinding the entire day, going to bed at 9:30 after, a full work day, and then working a couple hours, just like I had mentioned, other people could do. But, that's what I did. And, waking up at 4:30 has completely changed the trajectory of every aspect of my life. And like after my daughter was born, I'll be very honest, it's like it wasn't always easy to do that. Now I have a completely different routine. I don't know, I'm trying to figure out the whole family work balance type thing. It's like your mind instantly goes to, I need to take care of my kids and my family first. I'll put myself on the back burner. So for the last like year and a half or so, I've been, I was waking up at like between 7 and 8, something like that, starting my day, getting to the office around 9:30. And then as my business grows and gets busier and busier, I realize that I'm working now from like a reaction state versus a proactive state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
so you wanted to take control back.
Correct. It's like, so I'm like, I felt towards the end of the last year that I was just like taking things as they were coming, and they were coming in so quickly that like I was getting overwhelmed, and I felt like I couldn't handle everything and manage everything. I'm like, I don't know what to do. But then all of a sudden I started waking up at 4:30 again and working out consistently every day of the week. And it's like a whole mind shift completely changes. It's like you realize how much time you actually have in a day to accomplish stuff.
Yeah.
And it's wild. So that's, to answer your question, that's absolutely everything.
Okay. So let's go back to where that mindset got built, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you leave the workout club.
Yes.
You go to another opportunity. You feel as though that opportunity is not for you and there's still more out there. And you decide to branch out and start something. Take a risk, do your own thing. What was that? What was your first business that you launched?
My first attempt at entrepreneurship was Orca Media.
Okay.
I was doing video marketing services for companies, as well as like some SEO work and some web design and stuff like that. Mostly heavily focused on the video marketing aspect because I like doing that. But so I was doing that for a little while, shooting some sweet content for some clients, one being my cousin down in North Carolina. So I would fly down there for a week, shoot content for him, fly back home for 2 weeks, edit, fly back down. And then on like the third time I flew back down, my dad actually came down with me too, and because my brother lives in the same town as him. So we went down there, and on a random Saturday, my brother, myself, and my dad, we all went to Costco, and out of nowhere I had a seizure. I felt lightheaded and just dropped to the floor.
In the middle of Costco?
Middle of Costco.
Out of nowhere?
Right in my brother's arms, like I had a seizure.
How many months were you into Orca Media at that point?
I think it was about only like 4 months, maybe.
3 or 4 months.
Yep.
Now you're flying down, you're in Costco, you have a seizure. What's your first thought?
My first thought was I have a brain tumor, or I have cancer, or like instantly my mind went to all the worst possible scenarios ever. And it was honestly the most terrifying time in my life.
Sure.
I mean, because like I had a friend of mine back in early 20s who passed away from a brain tumor. So instantly that was the first thing that came to my mind. And unfortunately, the only thing that helped me cope with that like severe leveling of anxiety was alcohol. So like every single day I was drinking alcohol pretty consistently, like not just having one or two, like I was drinking to numb myself. And I did that
from the fear of the seizure?
From the fear of having a brain tumor or something like that.
So you had the seizure, now you resort to drinking. Now your thought is, I got to block this out of my mind, I got to get this out of here.
Correct. And in the meantime, too, so that seizure ultimately led to me having to go back to do construction with my dad because I had to be supervised while they were running tests on me and stuff like that. They didn't want me being alone.
So Orca Media is on the back burner now.
Correct. It's like, that's not even in my mind. So I'm doing construction with my dad, drinking heavily at night and, waking up. And after about 2 months of drinking heavily, I was on the job site and like I heard like my subconscious mind or like something in the back of my head just say, we could do this the rest of our life. Like we could do construction. Look how well your dad's doing. Like, let's just do construction. And then the other side of me, like the grit side of me was terrified that my mind was thinking that. And it was because of the alcohol. Like that just completely like numbs you down.
Yeah.
It takes away all your ambition.
You were looking for safety or comfort. You were like, hey, this is good. I can just cruise on autopilot for the rest of my life. And I talked about that in the last podcast. Comfort is a scary place. Spend some time in comfort for a little bit. Your ambitions, your dreams, your goals, out the window. It's much easier to sit on the couch than go out and overcome that type of adversity.
Yeah, 100%.
So you got these two voices in your head. Obviously, we know which voice you went with.
Yeah.
But talk about that struggle. How did you end up going with that voice?
Because I knew I wanted more for myself. You know what I mean? It's like I was like, you know what, like let's try to get out of this. And so I had heard many times about the program 75 Hard from Andy Frisella. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Absolutely.
So like there, because as I was drinking at night, I was watching like motivational videos and stuff like that to try to kind of dig myself out of a hole mentally.
So there was something in there telling you, hey, I got to get out of this.
Yeah.
So you were trying.
Yeah.
So you're watching the motivational videos.
Like watching motivational videos, and then, obviously watching videos isn't going to actually get you out of a hole. So you actually need to do something about that.
I love that. Yep.
So it's like,
yep.
So yeah, so I just one day was like, tomorrow I'm starting 75 Hard. And I was doing construction at the time.
Cold turkey.
And after drinking consistently every single day for about 2.5 months.
Because you made a choice. You said, I'm done drinking, I'm done.
It was literally just a choice. I'm like, cool, all right, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 4:30, because with 75 Hard, you have to do 2 45-minute workouts. One has to be outside. Mind you, it's really cold outside, right? It's like, I don't remember what month it was, but it was chilly outside. So like, I woke up at 4:30, went on a 45-minute like speed walk kind of thing. And then I had to be at my dad's shop for 7 o'clock a.m. Did construction all day. We were framing a monster house. It was gorgeous. I would get home. I would go right into my basement, lift weights for 45 minutes, and then I would go upstairs, shower, go downstairs, cook dinner, and then I would go to bed. And then after a couple weeks, well, actually, so for the first 2 weeks of doing 75 Hard were probably the worst 2 weeks of my entire life, because I was literally detoxing from all the alcohol.
Right.
I could not sleep. I was having night terrors. I was sweating profusely. Like, the anxiety levels were through the roof. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the hardest part, was to tell myself, like, keep waking up at 4:30, keep doing this, you'll get through this, you'll get through it. And after about 2 weeks, finally that just subsided, and then all of a sudden the mental shift started going.
Sure.
It started getting that much stronger. My mind started just being like, I'm unstoppable. Like, what else can I do?
Your mind became calloused.
Yeah.
You were putting it in an environment that it wasn't comfortable with. You knew it was uncomfortable, but you faced it and you kept pushing through.
Yeah.
And it's a muscle.
That was hard.
Yeah,
it was hard.
Discipline's a muscle. They say that. Like, I think it's actually 3 days to build a habit. And like you said, the first 2, brutally difficult. Obviously, it's different when alcohol is involved.
Yeah.
But for something like waking up in the morning, if you do it day 1, right, wake up at 4:30, you're going to feel lousy by the afternoon. But if you don't resort to caffeine, you don't resort to taking a nap, day 2 will be a little bit better. And by day 3, you're good. Your body just wakes up at that time.
Exactly.
One thing I know about 75 Hard is the reading component. And I really like the reading component because most people I know, they don't read. So I think that forces people, again, outside of their comfort zone. Now you're not only working out outside, working out, eating correctly, abstaining from alcohol, but you're also developing your brain.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that side of 75 Hard, reading books. Was there anything that stuck out to you? Was there anything that really changed your way of thinking?
In terms of books, you mean?
In terms of books, yep. Because like I said, I know that's a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, so most of the books that I were reading were like your self-development books, right? Like business or, about money and finances, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And at this point, I wasn't even like running a business or even had any focus on like, hey, we're going to start a business, right? I was just doing that because I was like, all right, this will make me a better person. And
hey, it starts with you.
And help me at some point in the future. But I mean, like, there's not really like a single book that I could say like was a pivotal role in like shaping me to who I am or, pointing me in one direction or the other. I think it was just kind of, bits and pieces that I took from each book that just kind of gave me that extra boost of confidence and or, knowledge.
Right. And I think what is big about that is hearing other people's experiences. Very much like what we do with this podcast, hearing other people's experiences changes your perspective. And it changes what you believe is possible. One of the books that did that for me was Shoe Dog, the story about Phil Knight and Nike. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
But Nike started out, long story short, Phil Knight started this company. He went to China. He found a manufacturer. He came back to the States and sold shoes out of his car. Now, most people look at Nike and they see this big powerhouse, this big conglomerate, and they're like, oh, if I start a shoe company and I can't make it that big when I start, then I better not even start.
They don't see all the back-end bullshit that goes into growing a company that big.
Exactly. All the development, everything like that. I mean, look at your story. Orca Media turns into Orca Promo. So you go through all this adversity, right? You try to kind of block it out with the alcohol. You have these two voices in your head. What was the aha moment that made you say, hey, I'm going to bring this back to life, but this time I'm going to do it as Orca Promo?
I mean, after I'd say like a month of doing 75 Hard, my mind was just like in such a strong, place where like I said, like I felt like I could do anything. I could take on absolutely anything. And at that time, like during COVID and stuff like that, I got like a little heat press, and I, had pressed my own Orca Media branded shirts. Like we had like a little Cricut, cut out some little Orca Media things.
That's how we started too with Cricut,
and I heat pressed them on my own shirts. And I just remember like the feeling of seeing your own brand on, no matter what it is, whether it be on a truck wrap, on a t-shirt, on a hat, like what have you, it feels so good. And I had a friend who's in this industry say like, Chad, like you would love this industry. Like, I think you should look into it. Like, cause I had posted like me kind of pressing some t-shirts or whatever. She's like, there's a whole promotional product space, there's a bunch of different products that you can sell and, talk to a bunch of different people. And I was like, okay. So I looked into it, took like this like training course online about essentially how to start like a promo company. And then I was like, all right, we're going to pivot from Orca Media just to Orca Promo. And so I was doing this kind of on the backside, right? Like a part-time, like I had already talked about. It's like, okay, do it in the morning and at night while you're running your full-time gig during the day. So I was doing that for a few months. And then January rolled around, and then my now wife, at the time she was my fiance, we flew to Florida to this big, huge trade show all about this industry. It was on January 4th, 2022. And that is the day that I announced Orca Promo to the world.
Awesome.
Before that, I had no actual sales. I had only done some stuff for my dad, my brother, a couple friends, press them some shirts or whatever as like kind of a trial run. Hadn't even made a dime. So just announced Orca Promo to the world and was like, let's see what happens. Took a bunch of videos down there at the trade show, took a bunch of, different product videos. And then the next 2 months, I was doing the grind of 4:30, wake up, go for a walk, construction all day, get home, work out, shower, eat. And then after that, instead of going to bed, I would work on Orca Promo on the backside of things. I would send out quotes to people, send out some emails to people, what have you. And after 2 months, I was actually able to go full-time Orca Promo, which was an absolute blessing.
2 months.
2 months of...
But 2 months of head down, blinders on. I mean, basically, you're doing 5 to 9 at this point. You're doing 2 5 to 9s in one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're up at 5. You didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
That clicked in my head. I'm like,
yeah,
this dude's not even doing a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9. He's doing 2 5 to 9s.
Yeah.
But that's how you limited that time.
Mm-hmm.
So you launch Orca Promo. It's out in the world. You've manifested, this business. Everything's awesome. Your mind's calloused. Everything's going. And then you get some, fantastic news, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So not even a month into announcing Orca Promo, we find out my fiance is pregnant with our first child. And she was terrified.
Sure.
First. She came in like borderline crying. And I'm
Did
like...
she want you, I got to ask this, did she want you to ever go back to a job during that time?
No, she like, that's...
Never thought.
That was the reason, one of the reasons that I knew, like, okay, I need to marry this girl. Like, her support throughout everything. Like, what person would tell their boyfriend or girlfriend to switch jobs whenever they're not happy? Like, she watched me go through about 7 or 8 different jobs. Right. Like, while we were together. And every single time, like, I would start talking to her about it, and she'd be like, a new job again? Okay. She's like, every single time, she'd just say, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I would say, yeah. And she's like, then I think you should do it.
That was what was important to her.
Yeah.
That as long as you wanted to do it and you thought it was going to further your life, then she was on board.
Yeah, and she's always had more belief in me than I've had belief in myself. Yeah. So, I think she sees something in me that I don't even see myself. So, yeah, I mean, she's always pushed me and been like, yeah, I think whatever you set your mind to, you're going to fucking do it. And I think the same.
That's awesome, man. And I'm fortunate to have the same thing. My fiance is exactly the same way. My whole career, whether it was at the workout club, outside sales, when I wanted to start BornReady, when I wanted to kind of branch out and take on, other opportunities, she was right there to support me. She never told me not to, never put fear in my mind, always put that confidence in. It's so essential to have a partner like that. And I think ultimately that's your most important decision. If you're going to be in entrepreneurship, if you're going to own a business, who your partner is matters.
Yeah. And yours not only is like right beside you the whole time, like she's lifting you.
She's actually lifting.
There was a video that you posted just a couple days ago. She's spotting you. You're putting up like my body weight in dumbbells.
Yeah,
like,
and she's right there, man. And having that too, it's like I'm so blessed to have that. But I tell everybody that's what enables me to be me.
Yeah,
is that she supports me just doing what I love to do and being me.
Yeah,
so it works, and I support that too with with her competing and with her coaching and all of that. So having that relationship is huge. But man, I can't imagine being that new on your second business venture and hearing that, because like I said, exciting news, awesome, but that changes things. Now you got to think about finances. You got to think about the next 5-10 years. So what was that like? So, you find out you're having a kid, you're still new in business. Talk to me about like the first couple of months. Talk to me about the adversity. Talk to me about, actually those 9 months, that 9-month period.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, like I had mentioned, my wife was terrified. I put on a super cool face. I'm like, babe, we got this. Let's go. And then I walked into the other room and I'm like, I'm shitting my pants. I'm like, I have to make this work somehow. And I don't know how I'm going to, but I'm going to find a way to make it work. And at the end of the day, it's like, after 10 months, 12 months, what have you, when our daughter's born, if it's not working out, like I can go get a part-time job. I can go get another job somewhere to make ends meet or whatever. In my mind, that wasn't really an option, but it's a plan B. It's good to have a plan B. I was fortunate enough where I was in that 75 hard mindset, and I was just like, whether the kid was there or not, I was going to make it work because I wanted to be my own boss. The news of having a kid just made it that much more drastic that I was like, okay. It just went from like serious to this is happening. It's real. Yeah.
Because now, like I said before, you're now providing for 2 people. You're creating a future, you're creating a home, they're depending on you. That's on you.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
The pressure was through the roof, but I didn't even really think about it because it was our first kid, right? So it never actually felt real until I watched her be born.
Yeah.
Right? I knew I was having a kid, but I didn't get that emotional connection until she actually came into the world. So I think that might have helped a little bit because part of me was like, it's not real.
Now,
it's a weird feeling.
Did you get any of that dad strength that they talk about? Is that real?
Bro, I'm dead serious.
Is that a real thing?
Yes. So I took quite a while off of working out for a little bit after my daughter was born. Once you have a kid, all of a sudden, you got to start navigating different paths and whatnot. But after about 8 months, I was like, I'm going to pick up some weights again. Dude, I was lifting more weight than when I was at the end of peak lifting. I could pick up more weight. I don't know if it was just my determination or if dad strength was real. I actually posted a story.
That's fantastic.
I posted a story on my Instagram one time and I was like, dad strength is real. I'm lifting way more weight. This is crazy.
That actually scares me, man, because I don't know, with kids, I'm still undecided, but if that was a factor for me, man, I don't know if I'd get stronger. Maybe it would work reverse for me. I don't know how that would work.
Dude, like I said, you're already lifting my body weight and dumbbells. That'd be terrifying if you had that dad strength to go on top of your current strength.
But if that's real, I might have to look into that. I don't know. But that's fantastic, man. So now 9 months goes by. What does the business look like at the time your first child was born? Because now that you've had it for 9 months, the business, where are you at business-wise?
Far better than I anticipated, to be honest with you. In terms of revenue, I'm not sure where it was. She was born in October. And I know by the end of the year, I did about $250,000 in sales in the first year. And I was stoked on that.
Yep.
I don't know where I was at the time in revenue, but it was a really good spot. And I was very, very confident with the traction that I was getting and the referrals I was getting and the processes that I was kind of dialing in that, okay, this is absolutely going to work regardless.
Sure. But what's your day-to-day at this point? The company's grown. You've got $250,000 in sales. You're busy. You're somebody who reinvests into the business. I just saw recently you actually got your own embroidery machine, right? So at this point in the, where's the business at? Is it still just you?
Are we talking before baby or after baby?
We're talking after baby.
After baby.
So after baby, where's the business at? Still just you, one-man operation, you're running everything?
I'm pretty much doing everything. At this point, I had, so about 6 months in, actually, a friend of mine, his dad is in the same industry, right? Has been in this industry since '86.
Yep.
He reached out to me because he saw the social media posts that I was doing and whatnot. And he's like, hey, we're in the same industry. My dad and I want to have a sit down and chat with you. So I was like, all right, cool. Long story short, we had a great conversation. Ultimately, became business partners with him. They were bringing screen printing in-house that year. Actually in October, the month that my daughter was born. And he was like, I would love to work with you. I'll give you great pricing. We'll work on some kind of, partnership or whatever. And I was like, awesome. That sounds great. Because now I can focus more so on the sales and marketing and the back end quotes and all that stuff. So at the time that my daughter was born, I didn't have to be in my basement pressing shirts or doing as much actual physical things. It was more so just the sales and marketing and
what you're good
sending
at.
out quotes, sending out emails, follow up, all that good stuff. Exactly. I'm focusing more on my strong suits.
So you're starting to scale. You're starting to delegate.
Yeah, and that has continued, to this day. I mean, I've kind of been in that same structure up until about this month. We got some changes that are coming up to the business that aren't official yet, but there's some stuff in the works right now of, some mergers and or acquisitions happening, and bringing on another potential business partner who is much stronger in certain areas of business that I'm not strong in, so that I can focus strictly on sales and marketing where I am strong.
That's huge, Chad. I was just talking about the other day, we have a limited amount of time. So making sure that you're spending your time on the profit generator in your business that you're best at is the best way to really scale your business. You can't be spending on time on things that maybe there's someone better for that role.
Right.
Or maybe it's just not worthy of your time, because if you're doing this, you're making 10x. So really scaling that and taking control back of your time is huge. One thing I do want to ask you, though, is what would you tell people who are looking to make that jump in entrepreneurship that maybe have kids, are having kids? Because one of the things I hear often is, oh, I can't leave my job right now. I can't leave that paycheck. I got kids. I got a family.
I get it.
And the way I look at it, I don't have kids, so I want to hear your perspective. The way I look at it, though, is if you have kids, you're even more liable. You're even more responsible. You can't be going to a job you don't like.
Right.
You can't be not making the money you want to make, because now they're depending on you. So what would you say to those people?
I mean, I think one of the biggest problems is people look at, the money that they have and what their expenses are each month, and they're like, I can't leave this job because it pays the bills and feeds my family. It's like, and I 100% get that. Absolutely. It's like, you need to take care of your family. But at the same time, it's like, what are your hobbies? You can monetize any hobby that you possibly have, right? And again, it comes back to just the discipline and how bad you want something. Absolutely, you should go for it if you have the drive and actually want to create a better life for you and your family. Like, it is absolutely doable no matter what you want to do. You just need to, like I said, I was waking up at 4:30, working, get home from work, working, then going to sleep. And even when my daughter was born, when she was a baby and couldn't really talk or move yet, I would do the same thing. So I mean, to somebody who's thinking about starting a business but is terrified, I get it. I think about it more so now that I have a family and put myself in their shoes, because before I had a kid, I would see people complain about this all the time on Facebook or whatever. They're like, oh, I hate my job. I'm like, then go start something. Go do something about it. Go leave your job and find something new. They're like, oh, but I make too good of money to leave this. You're like, okay,
which doesn't make any sense, because on the one hand, like you said, they're just skating by. They're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
The job is the problem.
And they're miserable.
Which is key. I always say that. I'd rather, if I had a $100,000 a year job, man, and I was miserable, I'd rather make 60 and be happy.
100%.
Because like you said, in today's world, man, you have an iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay? There's an unlimited amount of information and unlimited amount of access to make more money and increase your income and increase your situation.
Yeah, and not only that, too, it's like there's unlimited information right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't know how to, you don't know how to make a bowl out of wood? Go on YouTube and watch that for 2 weeks. Buy yourself a lathe and then start doing some woodworking. I guarantee you'll make, a couple $1,000 after 2 months of honing in that craft.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I want to bring in the idea of balance, because you are somebody who I have a high level of respect for in regards to that area. I mean, you are very balanced. You have a wife, you have a kid, you have a business, and in working with you, you've said to me, hey man, I'll get that over to you on Monday. I'm going to be away with family Saturday and Sunday. You set expectations. You carve out that time for your family, and you say, hey, when I'm working, I'm working. When I'm with family, I'm with family. How important has that been to you to really have that balance?
That is my main driver, is my family, right? I look at my little girl and I'm like, I need to create the best possible life for you and your soon-to-be brother. It's absolutely everything. And the best advice that I got, when you're expecting your first kid, you're going to get so much advice that's bullshit. People are like, hey, you sleep
what to expect when expecting?
Yeah,
you read that?
Yeah. People are like, you sleep when the kid sleeps. You're like, my kid sleeps in the freaking car while I'm driving. I'm not going to, no, it's all stupid. But the only good advice that I got while we were pregnant was from a doctor at the hospital that was showing us where to go for our ultrasound. And he said, I have 2 kids. He's like, I'm not going to preach to you guys. He said, the only advice I'm going to give to you is in the first few years of their life, be as present as possible and pay as much attention as possible, because that is the point in their life where they're changing the most, they're evolving, and they're growing. And that hit me, and I was like, okay, so I made it a very, very heavy, strong point to make sure that I am present, I am there, I am part of every day of that little girl's life, like I'm going to be there, because once she hits, 10, 11, 12, she's not going to want to hang out with dad anymore. Like,
right.
She's going to be too cool. So
that
it's like,
just became your why. That became your driving purpose in that moment.
Yeah. And so for me, balancing it was easy. It's just like, okay, so I'm gonna work all day, and my girls get home at 5:30. I shut it down. Occasionally, there's some things I'm like, oh yeah, I got to send a quote real quick that has to be done because it's a rush order or whatever. But for the most part, I separate it very well. If a client reaches out at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I acknowledge it and I say, hey, awesome, like thanks so much for reaching out. Do you mind if I get back to you tomorrow? Right now is family time. And 99% of the time, they're like, dude, absolutely, I totally get it. And if they don't say they get it and they give me some shit for it, then I don't want to work with you anyway.
Right.
You're like, dude, like, no respect. But
that's not the type of people you want to do business with.
Correct.
No,
yeah.
Absolutely. Now, anybody listening to this and hearing what you're saying, when you say shut it off, you don't shut it off, man. Anybody who follows your Instagram, this guy can cook. This guy can cook. You talked about whittling wooden bowls. I'm sure you've done that. I'm sure you've watched videos. You're great at everything.
I've done a lot of woodworking.
But right now, you're making food that even my mother-in-law is talking about. She's like, oh, Chad makes all these amazing dinners and these sandwiches and these paninis. And you do, man. So talk to me about that. You don't doom scroll. You don't waste your time, but you like to basically learn. And one of the things I've even seen you learn and develop has been your cooking. Yeah. So what kind of role has that played into the family time and then also just, yourself as an entrepreneur?
First of all, I love the fact that your mother-in-law is watching my videos.
She loves them.
Hilarious.
Yeah. You got to put more content out there too. I'm going to put this on blast on the podcast. Yeah. I want to see a few TikTok accounts with you, man. Your charisma.
I know.
You said your pizzazz. I want to watch you more, man.
So I am working on a new channel that I already have a couple episodes filmed for. It's a channel called Is It Worth It?
There you go. Okay. So, is it worth it? Say it again.
Is it worth it?
Awesome. That's coming soon, guys. So watch out for that.
So the intro is going to kind of be like, is it worth it? I'm going to review random shit so you don't have to, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I love it.
So it's essentially me reviewing random stuff, like whether it be a product, a place, a thing, a vacation spot, whatever. It's just random stuff that people don't want to spend money on because they're unsure of it. I want to review that product so that you don't have to think about it anymore.
I love that. So and the entertainment value too.
Yeah, it's just something fun to do too.
Yep. But the food.
But yeah, back to the food. So that's kind of like, like I grew up with my mom always cooking. I'm a mama's boy. Like she's my number one. And I always used to be in the kitchen with her cooking and was always very curious about just food in general. When I got really serious about cooking was when I was essentially living on my own and trying to get in shape and learning about, okay, what's good foods, what's a good protein, how to cook different things. Because I didn't want to just have like boiled chicken and rice like you see like a lot of, like bodybuilders.
Yeah, you can just say like what you eat. I don't want to eat that stuff.
I didn't want to make fun of it. But
I don't want to eat like you, man. That's miserable.
Like people in your circle, but no, but like, and I think that's kind of like one of the big problems as to why people to eat healthy, you need plain boring chicken. It's like, and you don't have to if you want to get on your level.
Sure. There's sacrifices.
Yeah, absolutely. You're making different sacrifice than I am, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just started learning more, watching more YouTube videos, and developed like a serious love for cooking. It's like my escape from pressure, from like any anxiety, or it's just
way to de-stress.
It's my Zen garden.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. It's super satisfying. I just got a new knife for Christmas. A sweet chef knife.
Well, now you're talking like a dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you start getting knives that you're excited about for Christmas to cook with, and full-blown dad
and
mode, man.
I got a hex-clad pan, too. That's almost worse than getting a lawnmower and being stoked.
It's worse because I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? I have like a pan.
I'm going to get you one for your birthday. When's your birthday?
Yeah, I can cook my chicken and rice in that, right?
That's right.
But one of the things that I talk about, too, with lifestyle clients, and you do this very well, is it doesn't have to be boring. Like you said, for me, I have different types of goals. It's going to be boring, but even you come to the store and you buy the sauces. We have sauces that are low calorie that help you make the food taste better.
Yeah.
We have protein pancakes. I eat these things every night. I don't even want a cheat meal anymore.
Right.
I want my pancakes.
Yeah.
Even the protein bars and the flavors, all the stuff now that they have out there, like you said, you can still look good, perform, be healthy, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's really important. But I think more so what I'm hearing from you with the cooking and everything, that's another way just to sharpen your mind. Yeah. That's another way to build a skill. Right. Because we go all in on our business, but there has to be something else we're doing to improve our mind and to improve the way we do things.
Yeah, I mean, because if you get stuck doing the same thing over and over again, eventually you're just going to get burnt out. You're not going to have any other ambitions to grow in any other aspect of your life, I think. So
And doing something new leads to something else. You know, we
Yeah.
talked a little bit earlier about the importance of being able to pivot. You know, like I said about Nike earlier, you don't just start as a multi-million-dollar powerhouse. You start selling
Unfortunately.
shoes out of the trunk of your car.
Yeah.
And then by pivoting and continuously overcoming adversity and overcoming challenges, you get to that point. And that's why I love business so much. And I can hear it in your voice. That's why you love it. You love the progress. You know, you mentioned revenue, but we also talked about how you went from Orca Media to now Orca Promo. You're elevating the way business people think about promo items.
Right.
Your mission isn't just, hey, I'm slapping ink on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, your mission is, I want to work with people to help get their brands more visible and to elevate their brands.
Yeah, and so one thing that that actually drove huge success like towards, Orca Promo was I started doing a thing called the Customer Appreciation Shout Out, where I would take my video marketing skills and go to, a client's job and or establishment or whatever, and I would record them in their new swag and give them a huge shout out and kind of showcase what they do and share it to my followers, which would then obviously want to make them share to their followers because I just
Exactly.
produced a free marketing piece for them,
Yep.
right? So that blew up. And I did one for Sunnycrest Farm over in Londonderry, and that got like 10,000 something views.
Yeah.
And it was bonkers. The amount of people that like emailed me or DM'd me that were like, hey, saw that Sunnycrest video. Could we get some of this, that, the other
Absolutely.
thing? And it's
Yeah.
like, like providing more value to that company brought more value to my company, which was huge.
It is huge. And social media, especially the collaborations, is really big because you're sharing a network, you're sharing an audience.
Right.
When I do the BornReady nutrition supplements, when I partner with gyms to sell those supplements, that's one of the things I do for them.
Yeah.
I collaborate on a reel when we drop off their first order. And the same thing, now it's creating attention. Now members are seeing, hey, I can get my creatine, I can get my multivitamin right up front at the gym.
Right.
But now it's also, okay, this gym's involved with BornReady. My audience is seeing them. Now they are going to go to the gym. So social media is huge. What would you say to a business owner who's stuck in that mindset of, I don't have time for social media, or my clients aren't buying from social media? Because there's a lot of those people and they're wrong. Because
Yeah,
social media, if you don't have a business on social media in 2025, you don't have a business.
No, not at all. And like brand awareness is everything. And where's everybody's attention? I mean, like at the beginning of each week, your phone tells you how much screen time you had throughout the day. And majority of people who are working a boring 9 to 5 that they hate are scrolling TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, what
Doom
have
scrolling.
you. Doom scrolling.
Yeah.
For hours upon hours. And if you're not popping up in their feed consistently, you're irrelevant.
Right.
Right.
Omnipresence.
Yeah.
Getting your brand out there as much as you can in front of people's eyes. Because people forget they have a lot going on
We
in
got
their
brains
life.
of goldfish, dude.
The attention span, what is it? Like
It's
people retain like
ridiculous.
30% of what you say?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you have to keep getting that message out all day long.
Yeah.
For Mosey, he's putting out the most amount of content. I forget the numbers.
It's ridiculous.
But on a weekly basis, you're like, and then there's people out here talking about they can't find time to post one reel.
Yeah, and I think I would say to those people who are saying that, it's like you have a few different options. One, back to square one, where it's like, what are you doing in your evening time when everyone's asleep?
Right.
Spend an hour banging out some content, like
Right.
whatever.
Put the Netflix down, put the game controller down, put whatever you're doing down.
Exactly.
Focus on that.
Yeah, that's one. Two, it's like, do you have a little bit of extra funds that you could subcontract that out? Oops, hit the plant. Do you have a little bit of extra money where you could subcontract that out, hire somebody to do some content for you, come in once a week, shoot some video, have them edit it? If you don't, then hire somebody else to do a cheaper, lower skilled job for you to free up an hour or two of your time a week.
Right.
You can go on Upwork and find freelancers to do just about anything for really cheap.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
$7 an hour, $10 an hour, and they
Yeah.
only need like 15 hours a week. You're like, okay, if you can't afford that a week, you should probably start grinding a little more because like
right. That comes back to sales. There's
Yeah.
a problem. There's a fatal flaw in your business model
Yeah.
if you don't have the funds available to be able to put that into something like social media marketing. But again, it's free. And I remember
Right.
an influencer back in the day, his take on social media when it first came out, YouTube and everything, he was like, when I found out that I could market for my brand to make sales and potentially monetize the content, he's like, that was a game changer. Because back in the day, you used to have to pay for ad space. You don't anymore. And the crazy thing is Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, they're actually paying people to use their platforms.
Yeah.
So now if you do it correctly, you can actually get paid to market your product or service.
right. So now you're getting paid on your product and service as well as just for your marketing that you're doing to draw business to your
Exactly.
company.
It's a beautiful ecosystem.
Full circle, dude.
Full circle. And it's a huge opportunity that I encourage all business owners, especially small business owners, to take advantage of.
Yeah. And that's exactly why, I'm kind of going through that process right now of that transition that I had just briefly mentioned of where I can focus heavy on sales and marketing, not only for the brand, but also for my personal brand, for the Chad Park side of things.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To create those.
Personal brand.
Correct.
That is huge.
Massive.
I don't hear enough people talk about that.
Yeah.
The importance of developing your personal brand, who you are,
Yeah.
what you do, what your mission is, but then also having your company as a brand that almost acts independently of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's everybody's goal. My goal with BornReady was always to have a company that people looked at, they could resonate with, they were inspired by, that they may not even know who I am.
Yeah.
BornReady for me started out as my Instagram handle. So I told that story on one of the podcasts earlier where I was like, okay, these guys, Dwayne Johnson, these guys, Hulk Hogan, they're not using their names.
Mm-hmm.
They're branding themselves. They're making it bigger.
Yeah.
They're making it something people can get behind. So I don't know the answer to this. Where does Orca come from? Because we've talked a lot about brand. We've talked a lot about personal. Where's Orca fit into this?
That's like my most popular question that I get. It's unbelievable. Do you want the real story or what I tell people?
I want the real story, man. I don't want you to tell people anything. Well, give me both, I guess. How do you spin it, right? Give me the real story and then how do you spin it?
So like this is genuine from like my heart, but this is, one thing I tell people, I'm like, one of my favorite things about orca whales is the fact that they will travel thousands upon thousands of miles with their families to hunt and to find food and to feed their families. I want my philosophy of my business to be the exact same way. I will go out of my way in order to feed my family, to feed your family, to make us all successful together. That's part of my philosophy behind Orca. How it actually came to be and how I came up with Orca was I was sitting at that job, SEAL Master. I was sitting at the desk and knowing that I was kind of tired of that job and wanted to start something for myself. So I just started Googling what makes a good business name. Mm-hmm. And, one of the main things I kept seeing in many articles was for some reason anything with a hard C, like Coca-Cola or Comcast, psychologically sticks into the human brain better.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then many articles also said the shorter it is, the easier it is to remember, obviously. So I was like, all right, what's a short word that has a hard C? And I was like, Orca. Orca Media. I was like, yeah.
But that's amazing, Chad. The why behind Orca. They travel with their families to hunt.
Yeah, to feed their families, dude.
That is amazing, man. You gotta, I would
They're
be
killers.
all over that. I'd be talking about that all the time.
And they don't stop until they eat. Have you ever seen an orca hunt?
I don't think I have.
I've watched way too many.
But that's awesome,
I
man.
watch a lot of Discovery Channel.
But do you see that? And that's important for the viewers to understand. I have a brand, you have a brand. It's much more than that to us.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting here talking about, you're watching videos of orca whales. You're understanding how they act, how they hunt. It's much deeper than just like slapping Chad Park's promo services. How many times do you see that, right? And it becomes almost like a not a shrine, but it is. It's like a keepsake of that person.
Yeah.
And for me, I always said to myself, I'll know when I made it, when people can look at BornReady and have no idea who Dylan Cody is. And it actually just happened recently. I was at a table event and I was at a gym and this girl came up to me and she worked at the gym and she was all excited and she's like, oh, this is my favorite supplement company. This is so cool. How long have you been working for them? That was the coolest thing.
Dude.
Honestly, man, when I heard that, I said, thank you so much. I'm actually the owner, but that's one of the nicest things anybody has ever said.
That's like a heart dropper right there. You're like, damn, dude. Like,
yeah, because now
good.
here I am standing at this table and this girl thinks I'm just an employee of my brand.
Yeah, you're like, I've actually been here since day one, believe it or not.
Yeah, this actually started with me. But
she's like, oh, wow, you're their first employee.
yeah.
No,
I was the one who was BornReady. No, I'm just
quite literally.
Yeah, but that's what it is, man. But branding is very powerful. You really have it down, man. So for your business,
working on it.
You have it down, and that's why more companies should work with you, is because you're not just selling them paint on a t-shirt. I've worked with so many of these companies, man. They give me paint on a t-shirt, and honestly, sometimes it isn't even good paint on a t-shirt. And I'm like, what is this junk? Your stuff is unbelievable. Your presentation is unbelievable. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Wish you a ton of success with that.
Thank you.
One thing I do want to touch on, before we finish up here, is your ability to network. Throughout this whole story, if people go back and re-listen, you made a lot of connections, you opened a lot of doors for yourself, and that enabled you to partner with people, scale the business, do all these things. You also worked with the Mad Fisherman.
Yeah.
Okay?
Charlie Moore. He's my boy.
How did you get that opportunity? That's unbelievable.
So I grew up in Chester, New Hampshire, and he raised his family in Chester, New Hampshire. He has a son that's a year or two younger than me, and then a son that's a year older than me, as well as a daughter that's a couple years younger than me. And and I played sports growing up, and his kids played sports. So like he was always, you know, kind of in town at the games, at practices, what have you. And then actually during high school, he started an independent football league over in Manchester. And a bunch of us, you know, from Pinkerton that didn't actually play football for Pinkerton, we went over there, and Charlie Moore was the coach. So he coached us through football, and
you were coached by Charlie Moore.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the personality comes from.
Yeah. So him and I used to butt heads, and like he talks about it all the time, is because him and I are so much alike.
Yeah, that's what I was
like,
going to say.
We both have loud personalities.
Yeah.
He was like, I fucking hated you because I know you're just like me, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, I can see it, dude. You have that, man. That's
it was
unbelievable.
Gold. But now, like, I mean, now him and I get along great. I was actually just texting with him yesterday about doing some hats for him and stuff coming up here. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's funny how things just kind of transpire, and how, you know, when you're a good person, you're a positive person, which I believe I am. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is putting out positivity in the world. I am a firm believer in the law of attraction. Like, I felt it hard while I was doing 75 hard.
Yeah.
It's like the more you put in is exactly what you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for me, like, that's exactly what happened. So I mean, I've had so much support just through my personal network, my dad's network, you know, people that have known me my whole life.
Yeah.
And then even, you know, new clientele, just passing out, you know, my information.
Yeah. Well, I think people think about resume in terms of jobs, but what do you really get from looking at someone's job history, right? Nothing. But if you can get a referral, a recommendation, or, you know, a character statement on somebody, hey, this guy's a good guy.
Yeah.
That goes a long way.
So
and
much
I
stronger.
think more people need to understand, when you're developing your personal brand, who you are. If you're in a job that you hate, or if you're in a situation that you don't like, you still need to be the best version of yourself and give 100%, because you don't know who the people are going to be in the future around you.
Yep.
And you don't know what doors they're going to be able to open up for you. So like you just said, if you go back through your life, people are going to say the same things about you because you've always been you.
Yeah.
You've been consistent. And the version you are here is a more higher version, a more developed version, but people know, like you said, deep down, you're a good guy.
Yeah, and well, like, that's honestly how I got the job with Seal Masters, because, like, you know, they were friends of my dad's, and you know, they just asked my dad for my number, and I sat down with them. There was two owners, and they were like, you know, like, we just, you know, we know your father very well, and we like how you present yourself. You're a very respectful person, and you have good energy, what have you. And so, like, without me even knowing that people are watching, like, that led to a new opportunity for me. And so, like, yeah, you definitely need to always be on your A game and just be a good freaking person. Like, it's not hard to be a good person. Just
it doesn't
don't
cost you any money.
No, dude.
Nope.
Just, like, use your manners. Like, that's the biggest thing for me with my daughter, is like, she asks them, she goes, Dad, a yogurt. I'm like, what do you say? Please. I'm like,
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then I give it to her. What do you say? Thank you. It's like, that goes so far. And I owe that to my parents, because the amount of people that are like, your kids are so well-mannered. And, like, that's helped me as an adult now. So
yeah, no, it's huge. And, you know, I almost feel it in some ways, the being positive to me now almost feels selfish, because the reason why I am positive and the reason why I like to put good things out in the world is reciprocity. People don't understand that. If you walk around negative, if you walk around angry, that's going to come back to you. If you walk around and bring people up, hey, great job for doing that. You're looking awesome today. Keep doing what you're doing. That's going to come back. So you got to put out what you want in return. So it's all about reciprocity. But I do want to, just to close this out here, I want you to leave us with 3 key takeaways for the person that's, you know, in a job that they're not happy with, or for the person that wants to take that risk and start that brand, start that business. Give me 3 key takeaways from your experience that you would tell that person starting out.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I've learned just over the last 3 years, and I'm still continuing to learn. But I think number one, most importantly, would be, you need to get your mind right first. Like, that is absolutely everything. If you're not in the right headspace, you don't have the right discipline and the right mentality to go off on your own, you're going to collapse before you even start. And, like, you know, had I not been doing 75 hard and had that level of, you know, awareness that I can do anything, whatever I set my mind to right now, I'm going to accomplish.
Right.
If you don't have that first, start with fitness. Like, fitness translates over to business and every other aspect of your life. Fitness is discipline. You show up every day. And you don't have to be a bodybuilder like Dylan here. Like,
Nope.
You literally can just show up for 20 minutes a day. Guess what? That's way better than 0.
Exactly.
You don't have to lift weights. Chad, I don't have money to go to the gym or lift weights. Cool. Do you have a street out in front of your house? Awesome. Go for a walk.
Yep.
Go out in your yard. Do some squats. Like, there are ways to do it without
Just
equipment.
start.
Just start.
Yep.
So get your mind right. That would be number one. Number 2 is, you're going to be terrified. I was terrified to start my own business. Like, it's very scary, but my mentality has always been, I'm going to figure out how to fail so that I can learn from that and know what not to do.
Sure.
You know
Don't
what
fear
I mean?
failure.
So, yes.
Welcome it.
I mean, you're going to you're going to fear failure no matter what. Like
Right.
it's in our DNA.
Right.
It's we're humans, right? You're going to, but just know that you're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's almost like redefining that fear, though. When you feel that fear, you have to say to yourself, this is uncomfortable. This is unusual. I need to do this. There's growth here.
Exactly.
So redefining that's important.
Exactly. And like people have always said to me, they're like, Chad, like, you know, you get on a stage like to do public speaking or like sing karaoke or whatever, and like you're just so confident. I'm like, inside, I'm shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
Like
You would never know that.
I might look like I'm
Sure.
like cool, calm, and collected, but I am shaking like a leaf for that first at least 30 seconds to a minute.
Sure.
You know, but you know,
Yeah.
then you get comfortable, and guess what? It makes you that much more comfortable moving forward with anything of the like.
And the secret is, and I'll tell all you viewers this, nobody knows if you're confident or not.
Yeah.
So it is something that you can basically fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to not act confident even if you're not, and eventually
Right.
you will be confident.
Yeah. 100%.
So I love that. So number one, you can't build a house on popsicle sticks. You got to build that mindset first. Number two.
Let me think here. Honestly, the biggest thing that I tell people, and it's like, it's going to sound super cliche, is just go for it. Like start making moves.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. You know that. You know, people with a busy life, with kids, just start making these micro progressions, like towards a goal, right? It's like, okay, I want to start a pottery business. Okay, 1 hour, 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, that translates to 14 hours of pottery work and or content or whatever. After 6 months, a year, however long it takes, you can have your own independent business doing that. So, you know, one of the biggest things is just get started, start making moves, start figuring out what not to do, most importantly.
Bingo.
And you get that much closer to being like, okay, I'm going to go this route because that didn't work, so now I know what to do.
You have to
Just
limit
start.
time to action.
Yeah.
When you have that thought, limit time to action because you're better off taking the risk, taking the chance, failing, learning from it, and moving forward versus, you know, not doing it. Now you're 6 months into not doing it.
Yeah.
You could have failed 3 times and been on to the right idea, but now you're 6 months wasted time.
Yeah.
So, no, I love that, man. And third key takeaway from Chad Park.
3 is my lucky number, so I want to make it nice. But at the same time, I think it kind of circles back to health. It's like, eat clean. Stop putting junk in your body. Like, you can not work out, but eat clean.
Yeah.
Because that is going to completely, like, make your mindset fresh. Stop drinking all the time. I've gone down this rabbit hole too many times where I'm consistently drinking alcohol, and it just numbs you and what have you. I mean, sure, I'll still have a glass of whiskey here and there.
Sure, in moderation.
Yes, exactly. It's like anything else. But yeah, learn to cook. Learn if you hate to cook. There's plenty of meal services out there nowadays. Like,
Sure.
Find some good healthy food. Just get your health on track. You know, because life's short, man.
Yeah,
Life is
your
short.
body's your vehicle to life.
Yeah.
And as a businessman, I think it was Jay-Z who said this, I'm not a businessman, I'm the business man.
Yeah.
You're the business. Shad Park's the business. You're the mind, you're everything. So people don't understand, if you're not taking care of that, if you're not putting your mask on first, if you're not making sure that your mind's all right, how are you going to do that for anybody else?
Right.
You're
and,
not.
And as I try to, you know, bring on employees, sales reps, you know, admin, what have you, how are they going to look at me if I'm, you know, being a scumbag or whatever, and if I'm just at the bar every day, or if I'm not being the best version of myself, they're not going to take me seriously.
Nope.
And you know, like, energy gets transmitted through other people. It's like your energy always brings great energy to me. Like, I'm going to walk out of here and want to run through a wall because anytime I sit down with you, we have a great conversation. I get hyped up and I want to go do more.
Absolutely. Energy's transferable.
Yeah. So if you're just kind of, you know, moping around and always have negative energy, you're going to get a lot of negative energy right back to you. And then,
yeah, you got to cut those people out of your life, man. Anybody negative.
That's number 4 for me.
There you go.
Thank you. That is one of the biggest things. Drop it. Get negativity out of your life. Dude.
Out of your life. Cut it out completely. Doesn't matter who it is, right?
Doesn't matter who it is, what it is. Like, just this January alone, I've deleted so many people off of Facebook because there's so much negativity, dude.
Distractions.
Especially in the wintertime.
Yep.
It's like people that just constantly post negative stuff. I'm like, you have no place in my life. I don't need this. I don't need this. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, surround yourself with like-minded people. I mean, you listen to any successful person and or somebody on the uprise, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, number one, success leaves clues. So look at people who are successful, kind of follow what they do, but also surround yourself with like-minded people, positive people, and people who have the same goals and aspirations and dreams as you.
Absolutely. I mean, look at how this podcast is developing. You know, episode 1, somebody who I worked in the gyms with. Episode 2, somebody I worked in the gyms with. So again, look at the importance here. Success leaves clues. These are people that I was surrounded by. You were surrounded by me, vice versa. And we're still growing, and we're still in each other's lives because you need people like that who are motivated and who are driven to get the most out of you.
Yes. I want to ask you one thing, and I meant to bring it up earlier, back at the workout club. When I had first met you, you walked in like so swaggy all the time. Like you'd walk in these big stunner shades, you had like a trench coat and stuff, and just cool, calm, collected. And I looked up to you as like a mentor. And then I didn't even know you were a bodybuilder before working there.
Sure.
So you had told me that you were a bodybuilder, and then you stopped. Now you're back in that scene. What made you stop, and then what made you jump back into that lifestyle and ultimately, you know, start BornReady and get that to where it is now?
Well, I mean, man, that's exactly, you know, what it was, is that defining who you are, defining yourself, what you stand for. When I was younger, I was bodybuilding and I was making a lot of progress. You know, I did well in competitions. I moved out to New Jersey. You know, I was in the mix. I was at the Olympia. I was at the Arnold. I'm rubbing elbows with top pros. With that, though, you know, comes the other side. You see a lot of people really going after their dreams with nothing to show for it. You know, I was living in a studio apartment. I negotiated the rent for $700 a month. It was tiny. I had a bed, I had a stove, and I had a shower that I used to literally get out to spin around in. That's how small this shower was. It was underneath the stairs.
Would have been perfect size for me.
But I'm sitting there, man, and I'm looking at a box of supplements. You know, at the time I'm making like, I don't even know what my weekly pay was, but it was weekly. It wasn't commission. And I'm sitting there looking at a box of supplements, and I'm killing myself, man. In the gym, I'm eating my meals. I'm in solitude. I'm living a monk life. And you start thinking, you know, what path am I on here? What else is there to life? And once I had that thought in my mind, I remember walking into the boardroom at Universal and telling my manager at the time, Eric Schwartz, I got to go figure some stuff out, man. You know, I saw some things when I moved to Jersey, you know, people, you know, moving back in with family members, you know, just spending so much money chasing a dream that probably was never going to realize themselves.
Right.
And even if it did, it wasn't really what they thought it was.
Yeah.
So I pulled myself back, and I gave in to people, you know, kind of telling me, hey, you're missing out on life. So I said, you know what, let's see what I'm missing out on. So, you know, at the time I'm with Tanya, and, you know, we're going out on the weekends. We're being a normal couple. Like you said, you know, I'm dressing all spiffy. I'm not the bodybuilder guy. I'm the full-blown sales guy.
Yeah.
That was the role I was in at that time. But I guess what I realized going through that experience and being around other people was that this is ultimately who I am. And I can't make other people make me feel bad about being who I am.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I kept saying it to Tanya, I have more to give to this sport.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger, I would have, you know, done anything to turn pro. And I'm still gunning for a pro card. It's still important to me.
Yeah, but now you have something else.
Bingo.
While working towards that goal. So you have multiple goals, just like me in cooking and me in learning other skills. You have other things that are going.
Exactly.
You have your company that you're growing, your personal brand that you're growing, and your body that's growing to reach that goal.
I didn't want to wake up one day and realize that, you know, maybe I had the pro card, maybe I was successful, but I had nothing else. In the process of achieving that one goal, I let everything else slip. You know, I talked about in the last podcast, you know, there was a mentor of mine who was actually my regional director at the time as well, same that you just mentioned with me. And he used to tell me, man, one day you're not going to care about 23-inch arms. You're going to care about your bank account. You're going to care about your wife, your kids, your family.
Yeah.
So when I started thinking like that, I was like, okay, I'm a bodybuilder. That's who I am. But there's more to me than that. I'm a businessman. I'm a motivator. I can help people. I can inspire people with my story and my mission. So when I came back, I had every intention to tell my story so that people could understand the adversity I went through, the challenges I overcame in finally just defining and becoming me. Yeah. Which, as I sit here before you, I'm totally confident in that man and that person.
So you were able to take a complete step back. Have an overview, and then take a new direction, which I think is another huge thing for all of your listeners to be listening to right now, is the fact that take a step back. If something doesn't work, guess what? Like, learn from it. Yeah. Just take a step back, go try something else, learn from it, just like I did with every single job along the way, just like you did with that. You know, people are always going to need employees. Right. Like, people always need 9-to-5ers. Right. If you go start something, guess what? In 2 years down the road, you can probably go get another job in the same industry that you just left to go pursue your own thing if it doesn't work out. But along the way, you've built
connections. You've built new skills, like you mentioned.
Correct.
So it's not for nothing.
Yeah.
You're really building you as a person. And like you said, you can't fail with that. Maybe what you're doing in that moment doesn't work out. Maybe it doesn't turn the revenue or the profit that you want.
Right.
But you can always pivot, and the skills that you learn can be applied elsewhere. And that's the biggest thing I took from my time away with bodybuilding was, and I remember one of my uncles saying this to me, was everything you did in bodybuilding wasn't for nothing, because you can apply that to everything else you're going to do in your life.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, man, when I was bodybuilding before and I was 22, I felt behind. I felt like I didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm about to turn 30, March 4th.
Yeah.
I feel young, brother. I'm just teeing off.
Yep.
Like, it's all in front
Because
of me.
there's a whole new vision.
There's a whole new vision.
Yeah, you have like a timeline and like other goals that you're working towards. It's not just, I mean, everyone when they're 20, they think they're only have a couple years left and they need to be a millionaire tomorrow. Right. But that's not how it works ever. I mean,
it'll happen
for
when
some
it
people
happens.
It might, but yeah.
Sure, it'll happen when it happens. But right now, I got to keep my head down, keep working on myself, becoming the person that's capable of that, and eventually it'll realize itself.
100%, dude.
But I really appreciate that question, Chad.
Yeah, I need to give you a present if that's okay.
Let's do it, man.
All right,
Absolutely. I love presents.
I brought you a nice little Orca Promo gift if you don't mind.
All right, let's check this out, guys. We got something from Orca Promo, from the owner himself. The man himself. You gonna open that bad boy up for me?
You're gonna open
knife?
it up.
I figured you'd have a pocket knife on you. I'm not a.
I open boxes for a living, bro.
I do too, but I use a pen or whatever's available. Let's see what we got. All right. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Are you guys seeing this? We talk about quality. We talk about branding. This is unbelievable.
Leather patch, baby.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna have to put it on. I'm a little bit nervous about my hair, especially sitting next to you.
Dude, I mean,
your hair is. I don't even think we mentioned that. Look at this hair.
I was having a great hair day before these headphones got slapped on me, but I appreciate the compliment regardless.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, look at you handsome devil.
Crispy. Look at that, guys.
Dang.
I think this is going to be the new podcast hat. What do you guys think?
Let's go.
Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see these at BornReady so that you can buy them. Thank you so much for coming in today, Chad. I really appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more of BornReady Unstoppable Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this, guys. Start living your best life today.
Amen, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me, dude. I appreciate it.
Great having you.
It's been fantastic. Always a good convo.
Awesome.